Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We are on episode 4 of season 3 of Zushi, and I'm not gonna lie, last episode was maybe my favorite of the whole series. I've heard a lot of scuttle on Twitter about it because it's left out, obviously, it's left out a lot from the novel. And it makes sense when you have 12 episodes to cover, 80 chapters worth of material, you're gonna condense and cut out a lot of things. But honestly, I'm really surprised because going into this season, I thought most of the story was going to be about E-City. I thought that was going to be the majority of the season. I thought it was going to be like episodes 1 through 6 or 1 through 7. No, we're only 3 episodes in and we've pretty much wrapped up a lot of the plot points. Jingxian is gone, Song is gone, off gallivanting and exercising spirits, and we're left with Wangji and WuXian. So I don't know where we're going to from here, which is exciting because I've not read the novel to this point. So I know that in the novel they haven't gotten to the flashbacks that we saw in season 1 and season 2, and we've already seen them here. So I'm really curious to know. We haven't talked about the Ni brothers and the flashback with them. There's still so many unanswered questions with Yao. There's a lot unanswered, but I feel like we've covered a majority. Yang is still alive. He's either alive or he's a corpse or something. He's not out of the story yet. I'm convinced Yang is not completely out of the story yet because we haven't gotten the tiger amulet either, right? So there's still quite a bit left to go, but I don't know what direction we're heading with it. But, we just won a battle. We just had the ending of an arc. Those previews, they gave us some Wangxian, so now's the time. If you're gonna show us some Wangxian, why don't we just do a little quick break, just for a little bit before we go back into pain. I don't know. I don't know. This episode's only 23 minutes long. I say only 23. That's a normal length. It's not a long episode like the last one, so it's a normal paced episode. But still, I'm really excited. This whole season has been great from start to finish. As an Donghua only, I have no complaints. What I'm looking forward to is going back through the novel and the audio drama and the manhwa and seeing this all expanded. And several of you have told me when I get to the Untamed that a lot of the characters like Yang and Jingxian are going to be expanded upon. And I'm really excited about that because I really like these characters and I want to see more of them. So I appreciate that the other forms of media are going to expand upon them in ways that this form doesn't. Zushi is the gift that keeps on giving. I'm just saying. I pre-ordered the novel. I'm so excited to get into the Untamed, to get back into the audio drama and see what all I missed. So, but it is time, y'all. I'm so ready to see episode 4. So let's dive in, shall we? We are gonna start episode 4 of season 3, and we're gonna start that here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. I love this so much. This season is like a wish list. It's like, did you want all these things to happen? Because here they are. They're all right here for you. Did you want Drunk Wangji? We're going to give you Drunk Wangji. Did you want an insanely flirty WuXian and Wangji rampage through half this episode? We're going to give it to you. Did you want pain and angst and pining and mystery and intrigue and everything connecting to the main plot? We'll give you that too. We'll even give you little disciple funness. I am exploding with fangirl energy because this entire episode was great. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, they didn't kiss. And I'm like, okay, we should be happy we're getting this because we went through 2 seasons of everything being just mild and just kind of subtext to this is text. There's no subtext. This is text. It is adorable. I need to rewatch it because as per Zushi usual, there were parts of this that I was trying to pay attention to the animation, which was gorgeous, and also pay attention to the subtitles. And it's hard to do both sometimes. Sometimes you've got to sacrifice. It's like, do you read the subtitles or do you watch the animation? And so I was watching the animation and I missed a couple things that I want to go back and reread. But oh my gosh, this episode was great. There's not been a bad episode yet, which, to be fair, in this whole series, there's not really been a bad episode. There have been some episodes where not as much necessarily happens, perhaps. I think especially in season 1, I say that a lot happens, but I think like the Water Ghoul episodes 4 and 5 of season 1 were fine. They were great. And then once you get into like episodes 6 and 7, the plot picks up, the mystery picks up, you get more into Wangji and Wuxian's relationship. And then season 2, you only have 8 episodes, so it goes by fairly quickly and there's a lot happening. But with this, each episode there's been a ton happening because they're trying to condense the story into 12 episodes. So there's no time for filler. And the funny thing is, even though there's a lot happening, it doesn't feel rushed. It feels like it takes its time where it needs to, and maybe that's because I'm Donghua only, I've not read the novel. It feels like it takes its time when it needs to, but a lot is still happening. And so, oh my gosh. So we get the little preview of Yang being taken away, even when he's already dead. And so the tiger amulet must be with him. And then the hand's left behind. That's the thing. The hand is still there. Oh buddy. Wangji expressing his emotions in this. Oh, drunk Wangji. But it's not just Wangji expressing his emotions. Wuxian expresses a ton of emotion in this episode. Wen Ning expresses a ton of emotion. Ling expresses a ton of emotion. Even Sishui expresses a ton of emotion. There is a lot of emotional stuff being laid out on the table in this episode in really interesting ways. And it feels like the unraveling. It feels like things are starting to pick up because we're a fourth of the way through the season, right? We're a fourth of the way through, or a third of the way through. We're a third of the way through the season. And so we've ended part 1, technically, and we're entering part 2. And I feel like things are unraveling to where things are going to start bubbling to the surface and come to a head that need resolution by the end of this season. Now, whether or not we get that, I don't know. It may be something we get resolved in the novel when I read that, and in the manhwa and the audio drama. We may not get resolution to that until then. But there's things set up in this episode that I feel need to be resolved and hopefully will be, but I'm not sure. So there's that. But there's a lot of this OP, the wine drinking, the whole Wuxian swishing away his hand. It's like, oh my God, please, you chaotic gremlin, you troll. How can you not see? Getting drunk, the title of this episode. Oh my gosh. It's what we've all wanted from day one. We're like, Wangji, you just need to loosen up. And he does. Okay, so they're mourning the loss of Jingshan and Song up here, of being honorable and virtuous men. And that it's a shame and a pity. And then Wangji saying no matter how far apart, they will meet again. Wangji the romantic. That's all I've wanted, is Wangji the romantic, because we've had all the hints that the Lan clan are known for their romanticism, and that's all I've wanted. And we finally get Wangji being like, it doesn't matter how far apart they are, they'll reconnect. And it's like, because you know, because you've been waiting on Wuxian this whole time, and Wuxian is Lanzan. And then I'm a little concerned about this cough. I know that the smoke is kind of a red herring and to blame for it, but Wuxian's had that cough and that worries me. I'm like, I don't like that. Don't be like that. But little Sishui, him being so sad and like sniffing in the flames and the smoke and crying on behalf of Jingshan and Song, like he has such a tender heart. I absolutely love it. It's like, oh Shishui. And then the one boy from the Ni clan, I guess he's from the Ni clan, maybe he's an unnamed disciple, him saying the prayer for Miss Jing. It's like, aww. And then, so Wuxian's like wafting away the smoke and saying, aren't you going to stop them? And Wangji's like, well, you go do it. And he's like, fine, I'll help you teach them a lesson. And he's like, you are disciples of cultivator clans. What is the use of burning joss paper? They're dead. They won't be able to receive them. There are living people nearby. If you guys keep burning. And when Sishui turns around, his face is covered in the ashes, and he's like, you never died. It's like, if only you knew. How do you know if they'll be able to receive them or not? And Wuxian's like, well, how do I know? Well, And then Ling chimes in and says, well, even the dead won't receive them. It must be because no one bothered to send them any. And this is cutting to exactly Modao Zushi Q, the episode where Wuxian got onto Chang because he was about the paper lanterns and everything. He's like, well, no one ever sent me any. And then he was like, oh, Wangji. And so I love the tie into Modao Zushi Q. I love it. And then he's like, was I a failure in life? And he looks over to Wangji and he's like, no one sent me a Joss paper. What about you, Lan? And Wangji doesn't answer, and Wuxian's so appalled. He's like, we were classmates for 3 months. And we even shared a life and death encounter in Mushi Mountain. Oh my gosh. And you never once thought of me? I like that he's flirting. He's trying to be like teasing him. And Wangji's smiling. He's like, no need. And that no need, it's like he knew Wuxian was going to come back to him. And then he changes the subject. He's like, how's the investigation on the corpse coming? Like, of course you change the subject. Of course you would. And Wuxian being like, oh, the corpse. Oh, the corpse. And so, yeah, I wanted this part right here where the corpse comes back. I wanted to see that. All right, so we've got this corpse missing an arm. Interesting. The right arm and the demonic left arm are from one corpse. But the head's been sewn on, all of them belonging to Good Brother. And he's like, Good Brother? I like that he's like, well, the corpse has to have a name. He's a poor dismembered corpse. Can't we call him something? And there are whip marks on his legs. And given Yang's vengeful character, this dismembered and reattached body is most likely Chang Xian. So it's the Chang. So this corpse is the one of the Chang members that Yang. So Yang's tore about the corpse, so we can assume that maybe the arm is with the corpse that Yang tore apart and experimented on. And those assassins followed us all the way to Yi City and only took Zhu Yang with them. So they've gotten part of the corpse mystery figured out, that it has something to do with Yang's been experimenting on it, and that's where it's coming from. But why did the assassins take Yang back? And who are they working for? That's the question. I think even they don't know the exact location of his right arm and other parts. So yeah, they weren't concerned about the corpse. They just wanted to get Yang out there. And Wangji just warning about Yang. He must have kept tricks up his sleeve, so hiding the whereabouts of the arms and parts must be one of them. And Wuxian coughing, I still don't like it. And then Wuxian's like, yeah, if he had the tiger amulet, they would hesitate to try to stop him. What do you think about the mastermind behind the assassins? And then of course, Wangji says, well, there's only a handful of people who could know that Yang was alive. And we cut to Yao, right? Isn't this Yao with the sword and the tiger amulet with Wuxian's sword? Isn't this Yao? There's a yellow feather. He's in yellow. He's in the Jin robes. Come on now. I do like how the flower turns into the red bloom that Wuxian catches. And so they decide that they're going to find out who the mastermind of the corpses are and wrap up the game. And Wuxian's like, hey, kids, we're going to go find a body. And of course, Ling and Jingyi are like, we're not your kids. I like that not Sishui, but Jingyi and Ling, they're like a pair, right? And Sishui's like, well, I mapped out the courses of locations, and they appear to be in a line pointed straight to Yi City, except for one place. And that's the place that they go to. And Wuxian's like, tell me more, tell me more. It's like, and Yangming is where they go. Yangping City. All right. Y'all, from here on in, it gets so good. I love it. Here's the thing, though. Fairy chasing after Apple, it was really funny in the moment and funny in the episode. But I'm like, why is Fairy chasing after Apple? It's kind of funny. Unless he senses that Wuxian is connected to Apple. But Apple's chasing Fairy, too. So, interesting. I don't know what to make of that other than if Fairy detects some demonic cultivation energy on Apple from where WuXian's been riding him the whole time. Um, but I love that Ling is so defensive. Look what your dumb donkey did. And he's like, I haven't even said anything about your dog. He bit my donkey first. And then, of course, Ling says, my uncle gave me Fairy, talking about Yao giving him Fairy. And WuXian's like, well, don't bring him into this. Old Wangji gave me Apple. And I love that Sishui and Yingyi are like, wait, what? Wangji gave you Apple? That's impossible. But that's not true. WuXian stole Apple, so that's not true at all. There's no way he would give him. And then I like that WuXian crossing his fingers and doing that little thing on Wangji. Just subtle, very subtle subtext there. And then Sishui's like, it couldn't be true, right? But it's not. Wangji didn't give him that. And I like how they're all just arguing about little Apple and Fairy and Ling getting frustrated. And then, of course, Jingyi and Ling arguing back and forth. And Wangji's like, that's enough. We've had enough. You guys are being noisy. Calm down, children. And then everybody starts going about their way. So I think it's really cool that they established that most of the temples are built into the mountains, but this one's in the middle of the city, which seems quite odd. And of course, there's a mystery person that built the temple in the middle of the city. Of course there is, right? So, because the guy that ran the inn was like, oh, someone very important built the temple here in the city. And they're like, who? And they're like, oh, well, I'm not sure. And it's like, come on, really? Y'all just go with whatever is told to you? Okay. But, so WuXian being able to detect the dead and spirits goes into the temple, and then it's like he's transported. And the animation for that was beautiful. I thought that was gorgeous, where he walked in and the animation changed and there was all these ribbons and everything, and he could detect the spirit of this courtesan just dancing around where the temple is. Like, that was so pretty. And just the lanterns and the lights. Oh my gosh, it was just gorgeous. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. But here's the thing. Here's what I wonder. I mean, who would be connected to a courtesan but old Daddy Jin? Because Daddy Jin liked messing around with ladies, right? Different ladies of different families and clans and sex and all that good stuff. So I'm like, is Daddy Jin connected to this temple somehow? Perhaps. Is Yao connected to it? Perhaps. I don't know. That was the first thought that came to my head, was like, okay, courtesans, that sounds like something that old Daddy Jin would be connected to. And I like that WuXian steps back and gets out of there and is no longer in the temple. But then he's like, let's stay the night, and so we can investigate more. And Wangji's like, all right, I trust you. And then they go to make arrangements. Jingyi goes with them. And then from then on, before we get to that though, the little scene of the kids and the children playing, I love that despite everything, WuXian is still really young at heart. Like, if you think about it, he's in the body of a 27-year-old now, but his mind is like still back to that of a late, like a young adult. And I love that the kids are playing the Sunshot campaign, and they're playing, and he has like the little stone that says the tiger amulet, and everything that's happened in the past has turned into lore and into a fairy tale. And Ling looks and walks away. Like, he doesn't want to hear the story, because for him, the story is his parents die because of these things. Like, they're playing it like it's a game. But for Ling, it's very serious. And I love that the little kite is the Sunshot campaign, and they're all different members of it. And in the end, the one kid wants to play, I want to play the Yingling Patriarch. And they talk about how he died. And it's so sad, because WuXian's having to relive this. And WuXian died, and he knows he died. And he was there when it happened. He felt all of those emotions and that pain. And all of this is being brought back into the forefront of his memories. And it's like, you've been given a second chance at life, but he can't fully enjoy it, because all that keeps being brought up is the past and how awful it was. And so, and I like in the background, you see WuXian just throwing the stone and everything, or the lotus seed lotus pod seed. And them all telling the stories that have been passed down. They're just, it's so cute. But the moment that the one kid is like, don't you remember how you died? And Wuxian instantly like, that pain, and Wangji just looking over at him. It's so sad. It's so sad. Ugh. And then, of course, the amulet rock breaks. And it's Wangji that sets him back up. And Wuxian's so distraught, but then it's Wangji that sets him back up and helps pick him up. And it's so symbolic. And it's just Wangji helping him when he couldn't before. And he gives him the lotus pod seeds. And it's just... I can't. It's too... And Wangji's face. Why would you animate him like that? Why would you make him look so pure? Show. And him grabbing his arm and saying, come on, Lanzan. It's so damn good. I think that might be my favorite moment in the whole episode is Wangji's tender face and Wuxian realizing how much he cares and grabbing him and taking him away. But no, this part too, where he winks and says, I miss drinking with someone. My heart can't contain. I wish I could describe to you how much I'm fangirling and how much my heart is bursting from these scenes of them. And Wuxian being like, excuse me, I wanted 5 jars and you called 10? And Wangji being like, well, you wanted to drink, right? And Wuxian's like, yes, with someone, sure. And then, oh my God. And of course the innkeeper's the one that dies from the assassin from telling them anymore. And so they ask him, it reminded me so much of season 1, right? About the goddess in the cave, the goddess that could grant powers and wishes. That's what this reminds me of. It reminds me of the goddess and them saying, oh, well, yeah, it'll grant you any wish that you want. It's like, it's very reminiscent, right? We're tying a lot of things back to season 1, which is interesting to me. Like the story is coming full circle, which I really like. And then saying, oh, a very influential person built the temple. And of course, Wangji asks, well, who is it? And he's like, well, I'm not sure, but the temple definitely works miracles. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to suppress evil spirits. That place used to be a courtesan house, you know. And of course, that sparks that. And Wuxian asks what happens, but I heard it from someone else, there's a lot of stories behind the temple. All of the locals go to that temple and pray for health and safety whenever we run into evil spirits or other tainted beings. And he's like, evil spirits? This area is under... And of course, I like that they all acknowledge that Chang has a foul temper and is not the best person to go to with problems. In order to capture a great devil, he captures suspects and tortures them, and you can hear their cries from miles away. The great devil is the Yiling patriarch Wei Wuxian or something. And Wuxian's like, oh God. So interesting. So someone's built this temple. We don't know who. A lot of the story is hearsay and stories passed down from person to person. So I'm wondering just how true it is. But man, being able to handle your liquor. And then of course, Wangji drinks. The part that gets me though is he's like, what's your name? And he almost says Mojan Yu. And he's like, oh, I don't feel comfortable with that. And so he looks over like he's gonna sneak one up on Wangji. He's like, oh, I know exactly what I'll say. This will get under his skin. He says, my surname is Lan. And Wangji's like, what? And Wangji drinking the hot pepper and looking over at him. He's like, oh, that's a chili pepper. And of course he gives him the wine. Yep. And it's all downhill from here. The strong stuff, huh? He just slams it down and his ears turning red. And Wuxian's like, oh God, what have I done? You're fine. It's fine. You're fine. And then, of course, Wangji is a lightweight. Wuxian can drink a whole bottle of that stuff and it doesn't even faze him. Wangji, passes out the moment he drinks, a cup of it. After a single cup of wine. And he put some... And he took off his forehead ribbon. He took off the forehead ribbon. And he folded it up and laid it beside him. I didn't notice that during the reaction, but rewatching it, he did do that. He put it there, and he just pats the blanket. Now in the trailer, he messed with the hair, but he doesn't do that here, so that's interesting. But he looks like he's gonna go investigate, and then he sees Wen Ning, and Wen Ning is watching, and he's about to say something when he's interrupted, and it's them breaking the bottle. And I wanted to hear what they were saying. I was so like, oh, why is Wen Ning listening, that I missed the first part of the conversation. But so it cuts to Jingyi and Sishui and Ling. And what do you mean one should not take one side of the matter as the whole? Its creator might not have intended to use it for evil. And they're like, Zhu Yang may be a monster, but Wei Ying is worse of evil than he is. All those who practice moral cultivation should be eradicated. And it's like Ling's just repeating what his uncle said. And I like that Sishui is like, look, I'm not trying to absolve him of his deeds, but as per Wangji's suggestion, we shouldn't jump to conclusions. And of course that strikes Ling the wrong way, because Ling's like, jump to conclusions, my parents are dead. And it's because of Wen Ning. Yeah, the murder, the massacre, they were done by Wei Ying and the Ghost General. Which, really, it's Wei Ying, he was influenced by other things too, but it's because of them, is it not so? And then Sishui apologizes. I was thoughtless, I misspoke. And Ning looks so sad. And then we cut to this moment, oh my god, why show? Why did you do that? Of having Yanli at her wedding, and of course Chang and Wei Ying drinking, and then with baby Yan, and with Qing, and and then of course Wuxian's like, it's not your fault. Kinda was, but it also wasn't. And he's like, Wen Ning, one should remember their past, but they have to look forward to the future as well. And that's, oh my god, that's exactly, and then it cuts to Wangji, and he says Wei Ying, and then we get a brief glimpse of him blowing up. But here's the thing, that shack kind of looked like the shack that Mo Jianyu sacrificed himself in, but I'm guessing it was at the burial grounds and it wasn't at Mo Village. It's just it's an odd coincidence. And then of course Wangji wakes up, also without his main robes on, so Wuxian helped him take those off. I can't wait till we get to the novel. I can't wait. I'm so excited to get to the novel for this part. And of course Wangji puts his forehead ribbon back on along with everything else. And I like that he goes to push Ning out of the way, and he just gently pushes him away, and dramatically swishes his arm. Oh my god, and then Wuxian doing the how many fingers am I holding up? Like, your shoes are put on the wrong way. Oh my gosh. He's like, and I love Wangji grabbing the fingers and just intensely looking at him like, excuse me, I'm not here to count fingers. And he drops his sword. Oh my god. And then Wen Ning is like, hello? And he's like, oh, go away, Wen Ning. I got a drunk land clan member I gotta deal with. Oh my gosh. He's like, no, I'm not drunk. And he gets so close. So close! And starts dragging Wuxian away. He's like, back to Gusu, which is where he wanted to take him to begin with. He's like, you don't want the kids to see us like this, do you? And he's like, I'm gonna give you all the things out of my Mary Poppins TARDIS sleeves. I'm gonna give you the flute. I'm gonna give you the toys. And it's from Modao Zushi, where he gave him the toys and everything. Oh my gosh, the callbacks. The callbacks are so good in this. And I like Wuxian's even acknowledging, he's like, got some interesting things inside those sleeves. And Wangji being like, you don't like any of them? Do you prefer Joss paper? Oh my god. And he's like, Joss paper's for the deceased. You are not. Wuxian's like, oh, that's what he meant. That's what he was talking about. And Wangji starts taking him away. And this animation of Wuxian getting out of the grip, him just turning his arm to escape, but then he goes around the other side and winks. Freaking winks. Like, what? Like, your reputation will be ruined. And just The flirting, y'all. The flirting. The animation of them, him being like, oh, it's just like old times back in the cloud recesses. It's all the callbacks to season 1. Everything coming full circle. Me holding the jar of Emperor's smile. You trying to capture and punish me. Oh my gosh. And then just the animation of them just like flirting and going back and forth. And, it's so good. And, the animation's just, I love it. I love it so much. And I love them sitting finally on the rooftop together after all this time. After everything, them sitting on the rooftop and Wangji with his damn TARDIS sleeves pulling out another jar of Emperor's smile and them sharing a drink together. That's like all WuXian wanted to do back at the cloud recesses was share a drink with Wangji. And they finally get to do it. And he's like, you're amazing when you're drunk. And them finally getting to share this moment. And he's like, when we're done, we'll go back to Gusu, okay? Trust me. Oh, my heart. But we can't have nice things, right? Because the assassin is looking, and they find out that there's an array that's preventing him from summoning. And then, so this must be why the culprit behind the cat corpses led us here. Because he can't use his powers there. Interesting. I never thought I'd hear Wangji burp either. That's insane. And then WuXian saying, okay, the array's complicated, but with the right deriving, we can still find a crux. And he's like, do you have a piece of paper? And of course he does. And so he's trying to figure it all out. And draw out. And I love Wangji. What a mood. What a mood. Wanji's like tipsy, drunk face where he's just staring off into space like, that's a mood. That is, I need that just screenshotted being like, what a mood. And then of course, we can't have nice things. Okay, so all the papers there. He's about to get rid of the array. And then Wangji, of course, smacking down the spikes to protect his bae, to protect his man. And then there's a smoke thing that they get out of. And I love that WuXian's still like grabbing a hold of his arm. And they took away the papers. Dang it. Yeah, and he's still, should we go after him? And Wanji's like, it's an act. No. Not bad, Lanzang. And so they basically the innkeeper died. They want to use me to find a crux for the array, but the person said the array is also highly skilled. So WuXian set them up. So they've lured WuXian and Wangji there because there's the array and they want to get rid of it. So somebody's placed the array there and they want to get it out of the way. So they lured WuXian there to come up with a solution. And so WuXian made a red herring. He made a false solution, I'm assuming, to get them to come and steal it. And now that energy's on that paper, he's going to use the compass to track them down like a tracker. Cool! I love it. I love it. The crux I marked was fake, but the linking spell is not. Okay, and let me see here. I missed it because I was freaking out too much. But what is this at the end here? Is that... So, of course we can't see. It looks like Hui Sang, but cast a long line to lure in a big catch. It looks like Hui Sang, but is it Yao? But who, what, when, where, how? Oh my God. This episode was so good. This episode was wonderful. I really loved this. This was great. The WuXian moments, the flirting, the text, we're getting closer and closer, I think, to figuring out WuXian's death. And there's still so much mystery. We've not quite solved the mystery of the corpse yet, but there's things being set up here that I think have to be resolved. One is the conversation. We keep going back to Ling and Wen-Ning and the whole idea of who's to blame and who's at fault. And I think it's going to come to a head that WuXian's going to have to tell Ling that it's him, that he's back in that body. because everybody knows except for the disciples at this point. And they still have to solve who's behind everything. We still have to solve the tiger amulet, WuXian's death. Like, there's so many unanswered things, but I feel like everything's being set up to get answered here soon. So that's exciting. But anyway, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, what you guys thought of the episode. I'm going to fangirl some more. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back soon with more Modao Zushi. Bye.